And I mean, that's something that this California team is so good at. It's forcing fouls out of teams. I mean, look, we're already a minute into the game, and they've already forced the foul out of the Crimson Hawks. It's something that's really helped them in these late game situations, and it's kept them in victories that most likely they shouldn't have been kept in.
Zion Collins with it now. Gets it up top to Bryson Lucas. Lucas back to Collins. Just 5 on the shot clock now. Whitehead with it at the top of the key, shooting over KJ Rhodes. Off the front rim, no good, but the putback by Bryson Lucas on the tip-in.
Yeah, that's another important piece of this Vulcan offense is Bryson Lucas, the male Vulcan athlete of the week, if I do assume correctly from last week, after an insane week putting numbers on the board. I mean, all you have to do is look at this guy's mixtape to see just how good he is on the offensive end alone. On defense, his athletic and strong frame is just able to block anything put towards the rim. And, I mean, it's going to be important to keep him in the game here when facing off against a guy like Porterfield. I mean, that guy's 6'8" and probably well over 240 pounds, so that's going to be a tough matchup for, him and Keith Palak III to go up against.
It's a good thing you mentioned Keith Palak. In their last matchup, I believe he was really the difference maker as he was able to shut down Porterfield when he came in the game and kind of stand toe-to-toe with him. So, like you said, it'll be interesting to see how Bryson Lucas and Keith Palak kind of keep him in check down low. Pull up 3 here by Carvin Clark, no good. Donald Whitehead with the long rebound, and the Vulcans are off and running. On a 5-0 lead already. Jermaine Hall with it now, gets it over to Collins. The 2 seniors really just soaking in every last minute on this court, but that dribble goes off of his leg and out of bounds, and it'll come back the other way for the Crimson Hawks.
And I mean, they've already given their all for this program, and honored last Saturday on senior night here at home, picked up the big victory against Mercyhurst. And now at this point, it's a rivalry game. They've seen this team so many times throughout their collegiate career. It's about getting this win and pushing themselves further into the Atlantic Regional, which, speaking of, has recently been updated as of yesterday, I believe.
Great 3-point jumper there by KJ Rhodes, and the closeout by Zion Collins just a bit too late, and the Crimson Hawks get on the board. 3 there by Jermaine Hall, no good. And the rebound by Jalen Stewart. Porterfield with it now. He's going to drive to the rim, create some contact, and finish off the board. And he'll go to the line for a chance at a 3-point play.
And that's exactly what you get out of Ethan Porterfield. He's the reason that this Crimson Hawks defense alone has just been so good over these past few years. And then Coach Sankum already sensing a bit of the trouble here between Lucas and Porterfield. And he's going to sub Keith Palak in. And as you mentioned, I think we talked about this too in that broadcast, was just how well Keith Palak was able to defend against Porterfield and keep him in check of sorts.
Bryson Lucas picking up his second foul early on there, something to definitely keep an eye on and to see if Porterfield can take advantage of down low. As McClurg kicks it over to Collins. Collins on the drive from the left wing. He's going to get rejected by KJ Rhodes, and they're going to say it stays on this end as that's who it last touched.
I completely forgot to mention this again, though, but the Atlantic Regional, again, standings coming out here for the Atlantic region. Gannon, number 1, California, Pennsylvania, number 2, Charleston and West Liberty, 3 and 4, Millersville, East Stroudsburg, 5 and 6, Concord, Fairmont State, West Virginia State, Lock Haven, rounding out the rest of the regional finals as we're ending the near of conference play.
Donald Whitehead with the deep 2-point jumper there to get his Vulcans back on track and give them the lead once more here early on.
I looked away for 1 second, and immediately as I looked back, the ball's just rolling across the court. I don't know what happened there.
Garvin Clark will be passing it in here for the Crimson Hawks, the leading assister in all of the PSAC. Gets it up top to Porterfield, and Porterfield's going to set it up and get Stewart to come get the ball off of him. Stewart now with it, guarded by Whitehead. Gets the screen from Porterfield. He's going to pull up from 3, and he connects.
And it's something I mentioned the last time these two teams matched up was just how well Porterfield is from the 3-point range. Something unusual for guys of his size and his weight matchup. And, I mean, that's another guy you don't want taking a 3-pointer because unlike that, normally that's KJ's spot. And that's an easy 3-pointer for the leading scorer in the PSAC.
Clark with it now. Guarded by Collins. He has the whole left side of the floor to himself. Gets into the middle, passes it out to Stewart. Stewart puts up another 3, and he catches fire here early on as he connects on back-to-back 3-point bombs.
Yeah, and I mean, this is the complete opposite of last time these two teams met. I mean, last time it was just brutish defensive basketball. Nobody was able to score. And, I mean, as we're seeing here now, it's just bucket after bucket between these two teams.
I'm honestly not sure how KJ McClurg's able to control himself for a bank floater from about 12 to 15 feet away, but nonetheless, he does find the bottom of the net. And for his first bucket of the night. Stewart going to take another three. A little bit of a heat check here. No good. And Palak with the rebound. Whitehead gets it to a trailing Palak, who gets it back to Whitehead. Now over to Collins. Collins with the pump fake. Puts the ball on the floor. Over to Whitehead. Back to Palak. Palak going to shoot a corner three off the front rim and no good. And Clark with the rebound.
Yeah, and I mean, Palak, that's normally his shot from last year, but he's been struggling as of late from return from the three-point line. Something, again, he made his hallmark for his size.
And a deep rebound there for the Crimson Hawks. Not able to capitalize, and Jermaine Hall with the rebound coming back the other way. Hall with the handoff to McClurg. McClurg the pump fake, the mid-range two, and that finds the bottom. He connects on a little bit of contact as well, but doesn't get the call, but nonetheless does make the bucket.
And that's a scary sight for the Crimson Hawks and Coach Lombardi. When you get KJ McClurg hot, I mean, we've already seen this season what he can do. We've talked about it enough. One of the best players in all Division II basketball. I mean, it's amazing that he's even playing at this level right now.
Clark with it now in the corner, gets the screen from Porterfield. He's going to take that space and take a two-pointer that connects.
And something I've noticed here so far tonight is just not many closeouts. Both teams just letting shooters shoot and hoping nothing lands, but I mean, it's been quite the opposite. Almost everything's been landing here. Both teams shooting 5 for 10 from the field. Crimson Hawks shooting 3 for 6 from three-point land, and Vulcan shooting 1 for 5.
Just to add on to your point about the closeouts, what we've seen early on from the Vulcans is kind of going underneath the screens and allowing for that separation between them and their defender, and that's opened up a three for Jalen Stewart, and now that deep two by Garvin Clark. So it's going to be something to see if maybe the Vulcans kind of change things up a little bit in their strategies and, approach it differently defensively.
And I mean, again, just looking back at what happened last time, and that would have been the strategy. Last time these two teams played, I mean, it was a struggle for both these teams to shoot the ball. Nobody was getting those buckets in. So, I mean, it's understandable to try and push them outside of the paint, force them to take those mid-range and long-range shots. But, I mean, as we've seen all year long from Coach Sankum, he's been able to adjust pretty easily to what his opponents throw at him. So, I mean, if you're heading out of this timeout, I think you're hoping to see Coach Sankum try and switch things up and, ride the ship back to work.
The first media timeout with IUP leading the game 14-11 so far. Leading scorer for both sides is Jalen Stewart with those two early threes, and he's up to 6 points. And on our end, Donald Whitehead with 5 and KJ McClurg with 4. Really just going to be a back and forth game throughout. We can already tell that from these first couple minutes, and you can tell these two teams aren't really too fond of each other, and they want to be able to walk out of here with a smile on their face.
And if I'm going to take an assumption early off the bat, too, I think we're going to see a bit of what we had here last year with this Vulcan team. And I think you're going to see a lot of the same players here on the floor tonight. So I would get used to seeing the likes of Palak, Whitehead, Hall, Collins, and McClurg on the floor tonight.
The throw-up pass to Palak, and he just positions himself perfectly for the lay-in off the feed from Jermaine Hall. Clark coming back the other way, puts up the quick two-point jumper, no good, and Hall with another rebound. Hall gets it to Collins, and Collins the deep two-pointer off the front rim, no good. Stewart bringing it up for the Crimson Hawks. Calling for Porterfield to set him a screen, and he gets it. He's going to drive the middle of the lane, goes up, loses the ball, and it's going to go off his leg and out of bounds and come back the other way for the Vulcans.
Yeah, and on the offensive end, even though it's a missed shot for Zion Collins, I absolutely love this Vulcan transition offense for one reason. They have their eyes down the court. They're looking for those open passes, and they're looking to take the easy buckets where they can get them, and I just love that type of basketball.
Hall with it now. Gets it over to McClurg. McClurg guarded by Clark. He's going to drive from the right wing, put it up off the board and the foul. KJ McClurg doing what he does best, creating contact and finishing at the rim.
Who's teaching him this? Is he just like in some random Ukrainian gym in like the middle of the summer just trying this stuff out? What part of his bag is this in?
And KJ McClurg, we talk about it all the time, but making the jump he did from his freshman season here, going from 14 points a game to now almost 23 and leading all of the PSAC by more than 2.5 points per game in scoring. So, I mean, just showing his arsenal and his bag right there as he connects on the free throw as well, giving California a 2-point lead here early on. Brooks with it now. He checked in during the media timeout. Gets it over to Radford. Radford at the top of the key gets the screen from Porterfield. Kicks it out. And it's going to be a travel there by Romero Sands.
And just another small mistake by the Crimson Hawks, and that's going to force a turnover. And that's something that many teams end up doing when they come to play these Vulcans here at the Convocation Center. And I don't know if it's the magic in the air, but normally when these teams are playing away games here, you start to notice that a lot of times it's just small mistakes that end up being pushed out by the Vulcan defense. And forcing turnovers is something they've been great at all season long.
Game coming to a bit of a halt as Keith Palak lost his shoe mid-defensive play right there. And, in front of a whole bunch of people tying your shoe, that's not my favorite scenario. So props to him getting that done as quick as he did. They're going to call a foul there on Romero Sands.
JJ has just become a magnet all season long for just taking the brunt of every single men's game's worst play. He's been run over nearly 3 times now. I swear I've seen him almost get hit by a ball 5 or 6 times too. It's just not his year.
The only time all year that I worked that camera was during the Gannon game, where it was just fast break after fast break, and I can say that I do feel for him as Keith Palak connects there from the mid-range, right around the free throw line, 4-2, his second basket of the night already.
Yeah, that's big. I mean, not only defensively do you want Keith Palak to show up, but again, offensively you want him to show up as well. It's something that he's been a bit slow to come back with since his injury in December, but
Jalen Stewart, after the hot start from beyond the arc, takes the deep 2 and fails to even connect with the rim as the crowd's letting him hear it.
It's unusual, too, because, I mean, I don't know about you, but during that women's game, I noticed there's a decent amount of IUP fans here tonight.
Palak going to pull up for 3. A little bit of a confident stroke there and no good. Rebound by Sands and gets it up to Stewart. Stewart gets the screen from Porterfield. Porterfield now with the smaller Whitehead on him. Luckily, Jermaine Hall comes over to switch. They're trying to get it into him, but they just fail to do so. The throw up to nobody at all, and Palak comes up with it for the Vulcans.
Yeah, and just punishing Porterfield, too. They want to funnel that ball down into the paint and get it to him, and they're just punishing that.
A little dive for the ball as Zion Collins ends up on the floor. He's going to do the quick drive, get it out to Jermaine Hall. Now to McClurg. They're going to look to move it around. McClurg drives the middle of the lane, and how on earth he connects with that is beyond me as he gets to the middle, puts a little English on it, and finishes at the rim.
There's nothing English about that. I'm telling you, man. He's just in the summer in some random Ukrainian gym or something learning these moves.
And a great follow-up there by Demir Brooks as he finishes at the rim plus the foul, and he will have a chance to make it a 3-point play. And that's going to take us to our second media timeout and our first commercial break of the night as we'll be right back here on PSAC Network and CUTV Sports 1. Stay tuned.
In NCAA Division II, community engagement is an initiative at all 25 national championships because student-athletes want to give back while competing for a national title. Over the course of the year, Division II student-athletes have an opportunity to leave a lasting impression in local communities throughout the country. Whether Division II student-athletes are volunteering at hospitals, schools, after-school care programs, foster homes, or retirement villages, they make a difference in the lives of others. In Division II, we rise to the opportunity and make community engagement ours.
And we are back here at the Convocation Center following our second media timeout. California holding a 20-16 lead over the Crimson Hawks of IUP. And just a back and forth matchup so far. A little bit of transition on each side. Some jumpers falling for each team. And coming out of the break, we have Demir Brooks trying to capitalize on an and one as he was able to finish on a putback underneath the basket.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just been an exciting game here so far. I mean, really no complaints from me. We're seeing some good offense, and we're seeing some impressive defensive plays as well. I mean, we're mostly just seeing the same figures as well. I mean, we're not really seeing some large bench action either. So, I mean, it's just the best these two teams have to offer going at it.
McClurg with the pull-up three, no good. Palak did get the rebound, but I believe there was a foul on a Crimson Hawk as Demir Brooks picked it up, kind of pushing Jermaine Hall out of the way, and the ball's going to stay on this end. Whitehead under the hoop, passing it in, gets it to Hall. Hall, the early mid-range jumper, no good, and the rebound by Brooks. Clark bringing the ball up for the Crimson Hawks. Romero Sands with it now. Gets it to Brooks. Brooks over to Radford, top of the key. Gets it to Porterfield outside the arc. Covered by Palak, looking to create some space. He's going to back him down as he has the whole left side of the floor to work with. The Dirk Nowitzki fade there is no good. And the rebound by Garvin Clark. He has to throw it up. And that's a shot clock violation, as I believe he thought it hit the rim and it never did. Checking into the game now for the Crimson Hawks is Josh Patino, number 21. And he'll have the tall task of covering KJ McClurg coming off the bench.
You know, the further we go on into this first half as well, something that's like really starting to show here now is just how dynamic that this shooting has ended up becoming, because now Crimson Hawks are kind of falling behind in the field goal department. 6 for 16, that's 37% here. Making up most of that from the three-point line. 3 for 6, that's of course 50% as well.
Collins with it now on the right wing, gets it to Whitehead at the top. Whitehead going to do a little step back, create some space. The two-point jumper is good, and he's starting to feel himself here early on.
And that's one of the best space creators that you'll have in any sort of team. I mean, you throw him anywhere else in the conference, I mean, I guarantee you Donald Whitehead Jr. is still going to be a bucket.
Whitehead, like we said, kind of picking up the scoring as of late, averaging 13 over his last 5 and continuing to shoot the ball well from both inside and outside the arc. As Porterfield kicks out to Clark for 3. Clark's 3 no good. Rebound by Whitehead, and he's pushing it. Fakes the shot, gets it out to Zion Collins. Deep 3 off the front rim, no good. And the rebound by Porterfield.
You know, I think 13 points doesn't also justify it too. I mean, most of his buckets are from the three-point land, and they're normally in tough situations where you need a bucket. And, I mean, he's been coming to play at the exact times that he's needed.
In their last game, him and KJ both tied with the lead at 17 points in their win over Mercyhurst on Senior Day this past Saturday. So it's going to be interesting to see if he kind of builds off of that game, and so far he has been doing so as he has the ball with it now. Gets the screen from Palak, creates some space, puts up a jumper, and real quick gets humbled by Demir Brooks, who blocks him and takes a poke to the eye. They're going to call the foul, and IUP will take over possession. Jalen Stewart checking into the game for Bryce Radford.
There may be blood here. I don't think we really know yet. They're bringing out...
I think he's looking for his contact lens.
Yeah, okay, that's what it is. I can 100% feel that pain. That is absolutely the worst.
And that's not really something you want to... not only you don't want to lose it, because obviously you want to be able to see the best you can, but you don't really want it on the basketball court either, regardless of if he's able to get it back or if it's just mopped up by our man Rob there. But nonetheless, I'm sure they'll take a second to kind of figure this out. But looking ahead, not really much left to look ahead in this, what has been this 2024 season.
Oh, they found it. They found it.
There we go. Look at that. Get a round of applause for that from the crowd. As Brooks heads to the sideline, try to maneuver that back in, and KJ Rhodes going to check in for him.
Well, what's going to suck, too, is, I mean, I can tell you wearing contacts. I mean, now having to put that back in after it's been on the ground for so long, that's going to hurt. I mean, even if you do put some of that eye formula in, I mean, that's still going to sting for a little bit. So, very minute little thing, but I don't think we'll see much of him for the next few minutes.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a germaphobe, so I'm not going to lie. If it was me, I'd probably just go with one contact the rest of the game. But I have never been in a situation to need contact, so I cannot speak on the experience. As Clark with it now at the top of the key, gets the screen from Porterfield, trying to create a little space, drives to the basket, loses it though, and Zion Collins comes up with it as he's pushing the floor. A little bit of a 2-on-2 here as McClurg puts it up last second. Arnett not able to do anything with it on the rebound, and Crimson Hawks come back with it. Clark with it now. Talked about Clark's ability to facilitate the ball, but he's also a great scorer for this team. Scoring average just under 19 a game. Pass over in the corner to Patino, and Patino hits a three with nobody around.
An important three to hit, too. It just brings you back to a 2-score game now. And like we said, it's just been a tight affair here so far. And, I mean, even if you look at the fouls and the turnovers, it's mostly just been even between these two teams as well.
Great move there by McClurg, and he's able to find it somehow. I mean, that's his third bank shot of the night. He just has so much control of that basketball around the rim that it's just mesmerizing to watch. Clark with it now, getting the screen from Porterfield. Going to pull up for two, and he'll connect as that ball hits nothing but nylon.
I mean, there's very few games of athletics that I will tune into to watch a certain athlete. And even though we're on the Division II level, I mean, how could you not want to tune in and watch KJ McClurg just pull stuff out of his bag like that?
Gets it out for Whitehead. Whitehead kicks it to Palak. Palak going to shoot another three off the front rim, no good. And the rebound goes to the Crimson Hawks. Clark with it now. Porterfield going to get fouled on his way through as he set the screen, and Palak kind of was trying to fight through it. Instead going to get called for the foul, and that will take us to our 8-minute media timeout. California with a 3-point lead, 24-21 over the Crimson Hawks of IUP, and I mean, it's definitely been a physical game to this point.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, really you want to keep your eyes focused in here now, but going forward this Saturday, March 2nd, the California Vulcans are going to be facing off against Edinburgh at Edinburgh. That's going to be a nice, fun drive for us, having to leave at 8 a.m. But hey, we're here to provide everyone here at CUTV Sports 1 and the PSAC Digital Sports Network heck of a broadcast.
And hey, you hear the drive that we're willing to take, so make sure you all tune in for that matchup against Edinburgh. Women's tip-off at 1 o'clock, men's tip-off at 3 o'clock. And it should be a pretty good game on both sides, and you know, with all the seeding kind of somewhat set in stone, it's not going to be of too much importance, especially with the Edinburgh men's out of the playoff race, but still be a competitive matchup, and we'll be there for it. So make sure to stay tuned through the PSAC Network or CUTV Sports 1 on YouTube.
Absolutely. I mean, you got to stay tuned in because, like we've been mentioning, it's almost the end of the season here now. Second to last game here. PSAC playoffs pick up March 2nd. That's a Wednesday. First game is going to be at 6 p.m. March 9th is the PSAC semifinals Saturday. And then finally, we get to crown our PSAC champion March 10th on a Sunday. And, I mean, if you look at both sides, I think that's a really hard pick. ESU and Millersville have just been killing it beast so far this year. And I don't really know if Westchester could put up a fight to win there. So I think you're really looking at a Gannon/Cal, Millersville slash
Shippensburg. Right?
Shippensburg. East Stroudsburg.
East Stroudsburg. Same thing.
Dude, I'm from the east side of the state, and I'm messing this up. This
yeah,
is
we
a
were
bad
close
look.
enough.
It's a bad look for us.
We don't call a lot of East games, so we always... Wow, another great three there by Patino from the corner as he had a hand in his face this time and still capitalizes on it.
And that's going to be a tie ball game here now, too.
The senior from Venice, Italy, really getting going from behind the arc. So Arnett has it now, the pass over to McClurg. McClurg gets it up top to Collins. Collins taking Rhodes to the basket and goes ahead and kicks it out to Jermaine Hall for three from the corner, and he connects.
And that's a big three for him to pick up as well. He's been struggling here so far tonight. That's his first points on the board, 1 for 4 from the field with a foul, 2 rebounds and an assist. Jermaine's been picking up the slack so far here on defense.
Garvin Clark gets fouled there by Zion Collins after leaving his feet and looking to pass it to the far corner. That's something that's really kind of caught my eye early on in this game is Clark's ability to pass the ball is pretty impressive. When you see the different angles he takes and the way he's able to find open teammates even all the way across the floor, got to keep an eye on that for the remainder of this game. It's Stewart with it now. He gets it to KJ Rhodes at the top. They find Porterfield down low in the post, trying to back down Jermaine Hall, but Jermaine's having none of it. Goes to turn around and gets it out to Stewart. Stewart has to throw it up at the shot clock buzzer off the front rim, no good, and the rebound by Hall.
Yeah, that's a great way to battle Porterfield, too, just getting in on him and using your own physical strength against him.
Zion with a wide open three-point jumper, no good as it hits the front rim, and the rebound by KJ Rhodes, and here come the Crimson Hawks with numbers. Patino once again trying his luck from three off the front rim and back rim, no good. Rebound by Porterfield to keep it alive, and the Crimson Hawks are going to set up their offense. And that's going to be a foul against Porterfield as he lowers the shoulder on an agonizing Zion Collins, just trying to be a bit of an annoyance, and that's exactly what he does there.
It's going to be Porterfield's second foul of the game now here as well. It's something to keep your eye on here tonight. 1 for 3 from the field in 14 minutes of play. Now one shot being the three-pointer early on within the game.
Whitehead with it now at the top of the key, guarded by Jalen Stewart. Looking around, he gets it to Arnett. Arnett fakes the handoff back, finds the cutting Jermaine Hall for the two-point jumper off the back rim and no good. Almost picks up a foul, but the Crimson Hawks gather the rebound and come back the other way. Porterfield with it now. Gets it back out to Clark, and Clark's going to set it up. Clark's going to pull up for three, leaves it way short. The fight for the ball goes off of KJ Rhodes and out of bounds. The Vulcans will get possession back.
Yeah, the 29% from the three-point line. Not really Garvin's shot, but he's been putting a clinic on in this game so far, just passing the ball and facilitating the Crimson Hawk offense. 3 assists already, and may not be able to make up that three-pointer, but he's definitely making his presence on the court felt.
Clark had a bit of a struggle in their last matchup against the Vulcans, as even though he was able to rack up 21 points, 7 for 23 from the floor and 2 for 12 from behind the arc, as they were kind of just inviting him to shoot the whole game. And you have to wonder if that's going to be the case throughout this game as well. Collins making his way to the free throw line. 67% free throw shooter on the year for the senior. Speaking of senior, him and Jermaine will be sitting down for an exclusive interview tomorrow. Going to be labeled the senior send-off, so stay tuned for that on calvulcans.com if you want to kind of get a deeper dive into these two's career throughout their elongated career here at California.
I may have to come down to the studio and watch that recording. I'm interested now.
And the rebound there by Hall. Donald Whitehead coming back the other way. Whitehead guarded by Radford. Doing a little bit of dribbling back and forth, and he pulls up for a deep two and connects as he's getting hot. Up to 9 points on the night.
And you can definitely just tell him the way he's starting to move the ball now as well. I mean, he's trying to look for the open shots. And he's getting back down here.
Patino for three again. No good. Fight for the ball, and they're going to call foul as the Vulcans will retain possession. But back to your point about Whitehead kind of just moving with some aggression. I think that's really where they lacked in their Gannon loss. Their only loss in their last 11 games, where Whitehead only shot the ball, I believe it was like 2 or 3 times. And when he's not playing aggressive, this team kind of forces a lot on offense. And this team is definitely at their best when Whitehead is aggressive and not only looking to create opportunities for his teammates, but also for himself.
Yeah, and I think really the big story that comes out of that Gannon game, too, is the insertion then of Whitehead into the starting lineup and kind of cementing the starting 5 and the 5 bigs that we now see here on the court. Then Whitehead, McClurg, Hall, Collins, and it would normally be Lucas sitting on the bench now with 2 fouls. I mean, as the season went on after that Gannon loss, it's just 5 back-to-back wins. All of them relatively convincing. The only one even slightly bit of a head-scratcher with that one being Seton Hill. I know you were at that game. I was busy that night, but I know that they definitely were giving them some trouble from the three-point line. And that's something that the Vulcans have really struggled with as the season has gone on, and something they were really good at defending here early on.
The pass to the cutting Demir Brooks kind of goes off of his arm as a little bit of a miscommunication, and the Vulcans will bring it back the other way. On to your point about that Seton Hill game, it was definitely a fun game to be a part of, and Seton Hill played to their best of their abilities to try to knock off California, but KJ McClurg and company just continued to do the job and were able to come out with the W. And like you said, just about their closest matchup as of late. As Whitehead really beginning to feel himself a little bit here as he started off hot. 11 points so far to this point. And he's having a ball game early on.
Extending this lead now up to 8 as well. Something the Vulcans have done great here tonight. He's forcing out turnovers from the team. Paterno's going to take another 3-point here.
Patino's 3 no good. The rebound kind of masked around, and Zion Collins able to finish off the fast break with a slam dunk. And there's going to be a timeout by head coach Joe Lombardi as the Crimson Hawks are down double digits for the first time in this matchup. And we're going to go ahead and send it to commercial break here, and we'll be right back on the PSAC Network and CUTV Sports 1.
Are you a Penn West California student looking to get involved in media? You have 2 great choices, and for both, all majors are welcome. CUTV is the home for Vulcan sports. Be a part of 80-plus live games both home and on the road. We're looking for announcers, camera operators, graphic operators, and much more. There are also opportunities to develop your own shows. Go to our YouTube page, CUTV Sports 1, and see all of the content. WCAL Radio gives you the opportunity to play your music and develop your own show. Be heard locally over the air in a 40-mile radius and worldwide online. That's 91.9 FM, Power 92. SAI Media of CUTV and WCAL. Get out, join up, be seen, and be heard.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, as we're looking to wrap up this first half. 3.5 minutes to go. California with their biggest lead thus far at 34-24 over the Crimson Hawks. And really the story of this first half has been Donald Whitehead. He's got 11 points, 5 for 7 from the floor, and 1 for 2 from beyond the arc, to go along with 3 rebounds as well. So he's playing his heart out there.
Yeah, and I mean, to begin the first half, we saw a little bit of what KJ had to offer. Misses the first 3-pointer, but then immediately goes off into his normal antics. Got off some crazy bank shots deep out of the bag. And now we've just seen the takeoff of Donald Whitehead Jr. And I mean, we saw hints of it last year, mostly being the facilitator, filling in for DJ Slaughter when needed. But now, I mean, he's just coming to his own right as a scorer for this team, and a floor general that they've desperately needed.
And a great play there by Arnett to contest the shot, and I believe he got a hand on Clark's layup there to stop it from going in, but Tino was able to grab the rebound. He gets fouled, and he's going to go to line for 2.
Yeah, and I think a worry that's starting to develop here, maybe in the mind of Coach Sankum, is what's going to happen with your big men now, because both Palick and Lucas sitting on 2 fouls here nearing the end of the first, and I mean, that's now Antoine Arnett's first. And even though they haven't necessarily had to have been matched up against Porterfield yet, I mean, you lose all 3 of those guys potentially to fouls or put them in foul trouble. It's a bit of a worry when you get to the late game.
Might see a little bit of action from true freshman Dalman Alexander at some point. The only other guy really coming off the bench that could really look Porterfield eye to eye. So we'll have to see if that does happen or not. And that's another foul on Arnett. So now Arnett, Palick, and Lucas all with 2 fouls apiece. And I would say Ethan Porterfield starting to lick his chops a bit.
Absolutely, but I mean, Porterfield himself already on the 1 foul. Almost everybody who has played so far in this game for the Crimson Hawks has a foul on them. The only one who hasn't is Patania.
Jalen Stewart checking into the game for Radford. Clark, a great scorer, only 65% from the free throw line, so one of his downfalls, but he's able to connect on both there and cut this California lead down to 8.
And that's important too. I mean, ending off the first half by at least getting this lead back down to a relatively close margin. I mean, that's going to be important because, I mean, we've seen what happens with teams having to play the Vulcans in close games. I mean, it usually never ends up well for the away team.
KJ not able to convert on the lay-in there. A lot of contact, but no call. Coach Sankum obviously not happy about it. Porterfield with it now, guarded by Hall. Gets it to Clark. Clark trying to see what he has going here. Setting up the offense, 10 on the clock. He's going to pull up for three. Over Jermaine Hall, no good. Rebound gets tipped around a little bit, and it gets to KJ McClurg. 3-on-1 here, and the throw up to Jermaine Hall for the alley-oop from fellow senior Zion Collins. And Ethan Porterfield quick to quiet the crowd as he is left wide open in the corner and connects on the three-point bucket. But man, what an electric play by the Vulcans on that last possession. And now all of a sudden the momentum seeming to switch sides as Zion Collins gets called for the charge. And the crowd went from on their feet to quite quiet here pretty quickly. That'll be Zion Collins' second two. So now we have Zion, Bryson Lucas, Keith Palak, and Antoine Arnett all with 2 fouls here early on, and it's something you hate to see as a Vulcans fan.
Yeah, and Slaughter now having to pick himself back up in the game for Collins with the foul troubles in hand now. And I mean, something that's been good for the Crimson Hawks is that the fouls have been spread out, having one less now with 8 fouls, but like I said, usually just 1 and 2, but the Vulcans haven't picked up on key players right now, something that could really come to haunt them in the later aspects of the game.
And a high arcing shot there by Porterfield, no good. They're going to call a foul on the rebound against the Crimson Hawks, and that's going to send a Vulcan to the line. And luckily for us, it will be KJ McClurg who's sent to the line. Second in all of the PSAC in free throw attempts, and I believe somewhere in the top 7 or 8 when it comes to percentages, as he is shooting 83% from the free throw line this season. It will be a 1-and-1, as that was the 9th foul for IUP. Not quite in the double bonus, but KJ going to connect on the first and make it not matter. California up 7 to this point. 1:30 left to go in this first half.
You were a close guesstimate. McClurg is 3rd in the PSAC free throw percentage with a solid 83.7.
Had to give myself a little bit of room, for error there. So saying 6-7. In my head, I knew it, though. I did. 10-0 with it now. Gets it over to Clark. Clark guarded by Slaughter, gets the screen from Porterfield. Wants the switch, doesn't get it. Going to be backing down a smaller Slaughter, but he's going to pass it over to KJ Rhodes in the corner. Rhodes puts up a 3 and connects, and lets the bench know about it as well, as they must have gotten a few words out when he was getting ready to shoot it.
And again, 4 point.
And get a breather and understand it. .45 seconds left. California with the 4-point lead here. And, just a back-and-forth game, I would say so far. The story has been the fouls for the Vulcans that might set them back a foot or two. As, like you were saying, some key players in foul trouble. It's hard to tell what exactly that will come to, but hopefully they can get back on the floor, play some aggressive defense without picking up fouls. They're going to need it against this star-studded IUP team.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's something that you gotta hate to see here, especially at the end of the first, too. I mean, if you're looking at maybe 6-7 fouls at the end of the first, you're thinking to yourself, yeah, okay, that's manageable. I still have maybe Bryson Lucas or Keith Palak sitting on 1, or even Antoine. But, I mean, then the problem just arises is all 3 of them now sitting on 2 and losing your starting shooting guard, Zion Collins, here, 2 fouls as well.
Radford forces up the shot to maybe get a 2-for-1 possession there, as he didn't want to let it go under 30 seconds. And now the Vulcans are going to take their use it or lose it timeout and make sure they're on the same page for what should be their final possession of this first half.
And, I mean, this is going to be important, too. I mean, we've been seeing these past few possessions here that even though you get another lob from Jermaine Hall that makes you just absolutely want to run out of the combo center screen to close off. I mean, you're immediately here with an Ethan Porterfield 3-pointer and then another shot. I mean, this game's looking to be a 2-possession game right now, and I mean, if you're coming out of this huddle here and you're not able to get an offensive possession, it's going to be tough going into the second, just having to play off that sort of heat that the Crimson Hawks are coming out of halftime with.
I can't wait to talk to Zion and Jermaine tomorrow and bring up that emphatic slam dunk off the alley-oop from Zion Collins. Wish it would have meant more, but obviously Porterfield had to kind of ruin the party there by getting down the floor quickly, or I don't even know if he ever ran back on defense to be able to give him an opportunity at the three-point line before California was ready for it, and just silence the crowd completely. But still an electric play. I'm sure Gary's already played it on replay 2 or 3 times for you all to watch, and soak it in, because that'll be on the highlight reel tonight as well. It's a 3-second differential between the shot clock and game clock, with 15 left in this half. The double team coming to Whitehead's way. They're going to get it to Hall. Hall cross-court pass to Palak. Palak pump fakes, takes it in, down to 5 on the shot clock. The laying off the board is good. California looking to be the last basket of this half. Stewart going to throw up the half quarter at the buzzer. No good. And that takes us to the half with California a 6-point lead, 39-33 over the Crimson Hawks. And make sure to stay tuned for the second half here on the PSAC Network and CUTV Sports 1.
Come on out to the Convocation Center and support men's and women's basketball for the 2023-2024 season. The Vulcans are looking to put the PSAC on notice this year after both teams are picked towards the top of the preseason conference rankings. There will be 13 men's games and 16 women's games at home. Follow calvulcans.com for any update. All games will be live on CUTV Sports 1 and the PSAC Network.
Come out. Our team's going to be very exciting. We have a lot of good players. I think we play the game the right way, very up-tempo. I think we're going to be able to score some points. I think our defense is going to be great. Our guys have great energy.
Come to our games. I think once you get here, you'll really like what you see. I think it's exciting. These players put in a ton of time, a ton of effort to put out a good product on the floor. And like I said, I think it's super exciting, and you'll really want to come back.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, as we are set to go here in the second half. California holding a 6-point lead over the Crimson Hawks of IUP by a score of 39-33, and just a back-and-forth first half there that had some electric plays.
No, absolutely. I mean, if we're showing replays right now, I mean, how could you not just sit there in awe of Zion Collins throwing the oop up to Jermaine Hall Jr.? I mean, that alone is highlight-worthy, and I mean, why not Zion Collins also throwing it down, too? I mean, that was also just a very big surprise. I know I was talking to our producer, Mr. Gary Smith, and our good friend, Mr. Jonathan Sape here yesterday, saying, I've never seen Zion Collins dunk in my life. And they immediately rebutted with, oh, no, he's done it a few times. He just doesn't do it often. And I said, oh, well, never seen it before. And, of course, just my luck, literally the day after, and you see an in-game Zion Collins dunking. It was a big momentum shifter, and I mean, I think momentum's played a big part in this game so far. I mean, you know, coming out the gates, you saw the Vulcans just immediately going off on a nice scoring run, and then slowly the Hawks started to creep back that three-point line, playing huge into their game here tonight. 7 for 16, 43% in that first half, and I mean, really going in here to the second, I think it's important for the Crimson Hawks to rely again on that three-point line. It served them well, and I mean, in the dying half of that first, it's what got them back up to a 6-point deficit.
I mean, when you look at the team statistics both ways, and you don't look at the three-point line, California's outplaying the Crimson Hawks in total. I mean, 17 made shots compared to their 11, shooting 47% compared to IUP's 33. But like you said, IUP 7 threes from behind the arc, and California only 2 for 13 in that department. So it's played a big role for these Crimson Hawks, and it's allowed them to stay in this game.
Yeah, and I mean, probably the biggest hurting factor here for these Vulcans has just been the fouls. I know we talked about it during that first, but I mean, Ethan Porterfield is an absolute dog, and I mean, you usually have to have a guy like Palick, or you have to have a guy like Lucas guarding him. Both those two going down very early, though, with 2 fouls. And Coach Sakem just being smart about it, making sure they're on the bench and not even risking it. And, I mean, now heading into the second half, you're going to have both of them available here as Lucas is going to take the court. And another addition, or another subtraction, was Zion Collins. Also picked up 2 fouls near the end of the second as well, having to see DJ Slaughter pick up some minutes.
And both of Zion's fouls were a little bit controversial, as he had that charging foul following the Porterfield 3 that really just sealed the momentum for IUP, and then followed by a defensive foul on a rebound. So 2 fouls you don't really like to see, and you hope that Zion can stay on the court for the majority of this half as Radford lets it go from 3 to start the second half. And as a Vulcans fan, you don't like to see that.
Yeah, and I mean, before we even had the tip-off for this game, one of the first things I mentioned was Bryce Radford absolutely killed it the night before these two teams last met, and even though he struggled in the last matchup, I wouldn't put it behind him to throw it back down for this matchup, and that's going to be the and one for Bryson Lucas.
What a conversion there by Lucas as he comes off of the pick and roll, readjusts his body midair, finishes at the rim with contact, and now all of a sudden he has a chance to make it a 3-point play here. Lucas has been really just filling the stat sheet of late. We talked about how earlier he was announced Defensive Player of the Week honors last season, as he was able to rack up all of his steals, blocks, and I mean, even on the offensive end, rebounds, assists, points. He was really doing it all for this Vulcan squad, and when he's on the floor, that's what he brings you.
And I mean, I don't want to call him a role player, but I mean, he doesn't necessarily score 80 points a night. He's not going to get you what KJ brings, but he's going to get you that. He's going to bring size and athleticism and a defensive presence near unmatched within this conference.
You can see Danny Sankum not too happy with that pass up the floor, but somehow leads to that where KJ McClurg forces it up off the backboard for the foul and the bucket. And now he's also going to have a chance to convert on a 3-point play that could all of a sudden give California a 9-point lead.
Yeah, Keith Palick just laughs that one off. I mean, again, I swear this is like the 5th time this game where KJ's just pulled another bag out of his bag. I swear, this is what it is at this point. He has his bag of tricks, and he just reaches in and pulls out another one and just surprises you with something completely new.
Does not convert on the free throw there. A rarity from him. But yeah, like you said, I mean, he has, I believe, 6 shots overall tonight, and I would say 5 of them are off the backboard. There's a pull-up 3 there. And, I mean, it was a great shot there by Radford, and He's catching fire here early on in the second half. Hall trying to answer from 3 off the back rim and no good. That looked good from our angle all the way till it hit rim. But Garvin Clark now with it for the Crimson Hawks, and now instead of a 9-point lead, they're only working with 5, and Clark able to cut it down to 3, so big switch of momentum there. Collins with it now, gets it to Lucas. They're going to move it around the outside of the perimeter. Jermaine Hall with it, with Porterfield on him. Collins now gets a screen from Hall. Looks for Hall on the roll, nothing there. He's going to pull up for 2 over Porterfield, no good, as his shot's a little long.
Yeah, I think a bit of a forced shot by Collins. Nothing really found in that offensive possession, and this is where things start to get rough for the Vulcans, is in these lost offensive possessions. It's something that ended up haunting them near the end of the first, was just not being able to knock down those points. But I mean, in fact, who's the guy to knock down the points of the Vulcans here tonight? Donald Whitehead Jr., that's going to be his 14th here on the night.
He's just really feeling himself from behind the arc, and that jumper looks as confident as ever. As the miss there by Stewart and the rebound by Hall. Coming back the other way, he's running like a freight train and loses it off his leg. And that'll come back the other way.
And I mean, we always talk about how amazing KJ McClurg is on the offensive end. But I mean, his defensive side of the ball is something that I don't think we talk about enough here. And I mean, he forces the error out of the offender, and I mean, that leads to a missed bucket. And as I said, like, it's gonna end up being very important here in these final minutes of the game, because realistically, in the past 7-8 minutes of game time, and scores relatively been kept down to 2 or 3 possessions. And when we're in the end game and teams have to foul, it's gonna get very close and rather untight for these two teams.
Bradford with it now, gets it over to Clark. Clark gonna drive the lane, puts it up and finishes, and that's not something you see every day, as the net gets a little bit caught up and the ball just sitting in it, but our tall man Donald Whitehead able to jump up and get it out, so nothing to worry about there, and game continues.
We've seen the ball stuck above the rim. We've seen it stuck on the hoop twice this year, and now we've seen it stuck inside the actual netting. I mean, I don't know if that's a bad omen or a good omen for this Vulcan offense now.
Lucas with it now. Back turn towards Porterfield. He squares up, shoots the mid-range jumper, and we talked about it before. We'll say it again. When Lucas is able to hit that mid-range jumper, he can be a dangerous player on the offensive end.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what he's so good at. As I said, I don't want to call him a role player, because he absolutely is not. He provides so much value on the defensive side of the ball, but what cannot be argued is his offensive output as well. I mean, he's just able to shoot that mid-range jumper when he's on. I mean, as you just mentioned, when he is hot, KJ McClurg is just going to stupidly send somebody to the Shadow Realm.
A great follow-up rebound there by Zion Collins. KJ McClurg's jumper would have landed there. This place would have gone crazy as he sent his defender all the way out of bounds with the little pivot pump fake there. As Clark with it now has the whole side of the floor to work with. Smaller defender on him, and Whitehead off the board, no good. Porterfield going to grab the offensive rebound, and they're going to call a foul. That's going to go against Lucas, I believe, and that might be his third. And that'll take us to our first media timeout of this second half. California is still with the 8-point lead, 51-43. When we come out of the media timeout, it will be the Crimson Hawks with possession following the foul there by Lucas. And like I said, picks up his third of the game, and it's got to be something you want to keep an eye on if you're Coach Sankum. And all in all, you're just looking for somebody on that bench to be able to come off and give Porterfield a run for his money. And when you look at height-wise, the only really options you have on your bench are Bryson Lucas, Keith Palak, and I guess Antoine Arnett. And to be fair, Jermaine Hall has done a great job when approached with the task of guarding Porterfield in the post, as he's kind of used his bigger, bulky build to be able to hold his ground. And to this point, it's been impressive. Jermaine Hall so far, 8 rebounds on the night, only 6 points to go along with it, but being a big man in place is kind of more of the role that he had to play last year, considering the fact that some of his players were out and it was kind of a different team. Jermaine Hall was able to not only shoot it from beyond the arc, but also play one of the bigger post players on this team, and he might be presented with that task tonight, seeing that Bryson Lucas is in a bit of foul trouble. But Lucas does come out of the media timeout on the floor even with his 3 fouls, I'm sure Coach Sankum just told him to watch himself and not pick up any stupid fouls along the way. And the ball will be underneath the basket here for the Crimson Hawks. Clark passing it in. Clark already up to 10 points, 5 assists, and 4 rebounds. So he's doing his work here tonight, trying to be as impactful as possible. And right there, struggles to get the ball inbound, so he's going to have to take a timeout and use it. Not necessarily what Coach Lombardi wanted out of his team there, but a smart heads-up play by the junior out of Ohio, Garvin Clark. Kind of building on the point of Clark, he has brought his average up. Last time these two teams played, he was averaging about 14.5 to 15 points per game, whereas now he's averaging 18.5 a game, bringing that average up a whole 3 or 4 points, along with 7.5 rebounds and the leading 5.5 assists per game to go along with 2.5 steals. So this guy really does it all for the Crimson Hawks. He shoots the ball pretty well, 43% from the floor, 30% from 3, and has a career high of 30 points just about earlier this week, actually. So on Saturday, they took on Slippery Rock in a game that, you know, we talked about earlier, they did fall victim to. Slippery Rock was able to handedly defeat them, but Clark did score 30 points in that game, so coming off a bit of a heater, and he's been playing good to this point. You have to see if he kind of stays aggressive or becomes a bit more aggressive here in these last 16 minutes, seeing that his team is down 8 to this point. Clark passing it in for the Crimson Hawks with 20 on the shot clock. And Clark gets it off. He must have heard me talking about him as he gets it off as Zion Collins is back and lays it in for 2. Not what you want to happen to you when you turn your back to the ball on an inbound, but something that is somewhat exciting to see in person. As Jermaine Hall's drive come up a little bit short on the layup, and the rebound goes to Brooks, who gets it to Clark. Clark with it now, looking to stay aggressive. Ball on the floor. Zion dives and comes up with it, gets it to fellow senior Jermaine, who then moves the ball up the floor to Bryson Lucas. He gets fouled by KJ Rhodes, and he's going to go to the line for 2. Bryson Lucas on the season, only a 68% free throw shooter, averaging 11.5 points per game, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and about a block and a half. So, like we said, he really does do it all for this California Vulcan squad as he connects on the first of 2 free throws there. Porterfield checking back into the game here for KJ Rhodes. In last week's game against Pitt Johnstown a week ago today, Lucas was able to put up 19 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 blocks, and 6 steals. Kind of a stat line that you would see in a NBA 2K My Career game, as he was really able to do it all, and he continues to do it all game in and game out. Can't say enough about the sophomore out of Clarksburg, West Virginia. As Clark with it now, guarded by Lucas, puts up the 2-point jumper, no good. And Hall with yet again another rebound. I believe that's number 9 on the night for him. Whitehead with it now, guarded by the taller Brooks. Gets it over to Hall. Hall with the cross-court pass to McClurg. McClurg going to put up a 3, and that's nothing but net. You cannot leave that guy that much room, as he is one of the best shooters in all of the PSAC and is the best scorer in all of the PSAC. You got to think you want to keep an eye on him regardless where he is on the floor. Radford with it now, guarded by McClurg. And they're going to call foul off the ball against Lucas. That's going to be his 4th. That is not what you want to see if you're Coach Sankum, as you have no option but to send Keith Palak in for Lucas so that he doesn't foul out on his next foul. Palak knows the role that he has to step into now, though, as Porterfield out there, fresh coming off of the bench. Has to be able to stand toe-to-toe with him, which he did so well in their last matchup. As Clark passes it in to Stewart, and Stewart's going to set it up with about half the shot clock remaining. Gets the screen from Porterfield. He's going to take it to the rim. Off the back rim, no good. Jermaine Hall pulls down his 10th rebound of the game. But the pass to Zion goes over top. Garvin Clark a little bit quick, able to intercept the pass and lay it in on the left side. The pass up to Collins now. Collins hasn't really gotten going yet to this point. Only 4 points and 2 fouls so far. First 26 minutes of this game. The underneath there goes for the lay-in. It's no good as it's blocked by Clark. And Zion going to pick up a bit of a frustration foul there on Radford as he just kind of swatted away at the ball. Couldn't come up with it. KJ Rhodes checks into the game, as does Josh Pateno for Radford. Clark picks it up after the roll to half court to try to conserve as much time as they can. He has the whole right side of the floor to work with, and he puts it up for 2. And Clark really getting anything he wants tonight as he's up to 16 points. Whitehead with it now at the top of the key, setting up the offense. Zion, a bit of a spin move to get open, and does. Gets the screen from Hall. Almost loses his dribble, but gets it to Palak, who then passes it over to Whitehead. Whitehead with a much taller defender on him in Porterfield. He's going to step back and almost has an open 3 attempt, but loses it. Gets it over to Collins. Collins 3, no good. They're going to call foul on the ground on KJ Rhodes. That'll be his 3rd of the game and his 2nd foul in the same scenarios. Earlier he was whistled for a foul off of a rebound. He must just be holding down players around the rim in order to box them out. He's getting caught by the referees red-handed. The inbound pass to KJ McClurg, who hits the floater, the soft touch. He's able to hit the rim and backboard and find the bottom of the net for 2, and he's up to 19 points on the night. Clark with it now at the top of the key. He's going to go ahead and drive, and once again just getting everything he wants on the offensive side of the ball. Quick first step. He's able to really just create for himself, and you have to wonder, or you have to think that that's how his scoring average has gone up so much as of late. When he plays aggressive, he really is efficient. Palak with it now down low. He's going to get fouled by Patino, and he'll go to the line for 2. We talk about Palak and his new role coming into this season as he's kind of stepped back, as last year he was kind of more of the go-to scorer in the starting lineup. It's him, Jermaine, and KJ, and even a little bit of Donald Whitehead were kind of the forefront of that starting 5, and he had his average up to 18.5 points towards the end of last year, and now stepping into the role, coming off the bench, being the first guy really off the bench able to produce for this Vulcan squad. And he's only averaging 9 points per game, 4 rebounds in 17 minutes, but you have to take into account that he did miss 11 games due to an injury, so he's still kind of doing his best to catch up here, but does everything he can both on the defensive and offensive side for the squad. A little bit of a pause in action here, as it looks like Zion Collins might have gotten a little bit of blood or something on his jersey. It's not the first time we've seen this. Definitely won't be the last either, as Arnett has to check in for Collins as the delay of game lasted a bit too long. Keith Palak at the free throw line for 2. I'm sorry, that was the 2nd of 2. He already had connected on the first and connects on the 2nd as well. 58-51 in favor of the Vulcans. Clark with it now. Got to think he's going to stay aggressive as he's really getting everything he wants on the offensive side of the floor. Crossing up a little bit, sizing up Palak for 3, no good. The rebound went into Arnett's hands, was tipped out directly into Ethan Porterfield, who's able to finish at the rim. Porterfield a bit of a slow start to tonight as he's only up to 8 points, but I'm sure he'll be there when it counts, as Whitehead, the pull-up 3 is no good, and the rebound by Clark. Clark with it, guarded by Hall. Doing a little bit of dribbling outside of the arc. Gets it cross court to Stewart, and Stewart steps out before catching the pass. he hadn't stepped out, that three-pointer wouldn't have counted, but that'll take us to our media timeout and our first commercial break of this second half. Stay tuned here on the PSAC Network and CUTV Sports 1.
Are you a Penn West California student looking to get involved in media? You have two great choices, and for both, all majors are welcome. CUTV is the home for Vulcan sports. Be a part of 80-plus live games both home and on the road. We're looking for announcers, camera operators, graphic operators, and much more. There are also opportunities to develop your own shows. Go to our YouTube page, CUTV Sports 1, and see all of the content. WCAL Radio gives you the opportunity to play your music and develop your own show. Be heard locally over the air in a 40-mile radius and worldwide online. That's 91.9 FM, Power 92. SAI Media of CUTV and WCAL. Get out, join up, be seen, and be heard.
We are back and ready for action as we have a set 12 minutes left to go in this game. California holding a 5-point lead. And we welcome back Nate to the broadcast. Nate, you get any good pictures out there?
I mean, good is an objective statement. I'm going to be honest. I don't do most of the work when it comes to these. I usually just, let the AI enhancer do most of it and, claim it because I'm a fraud. But, we're looking at a very interesting game here now. I think some defensive lapses in judgment from the Vulcans, just a few miscues on offense has now created a very close game and far closer than I think these Vulcans won here in the second.
McClurg with it now, looks to create some space. And Palak now has it. He's going to spin to the rim and just overpowers Jalen Stewart as he's able to connect on the 2-point lay-in. We were talking while you were gone about how Garvin Clark has really just gotten going on offense, and just anything he wants on the offensive end, he's kind of taken. And so far to this point in the second half, he's definitely playing more aggressive than he was in that first.
Yeah. Problem, I think, just coming from Donald Whitehead Jr., and for once, I think his size defensively is just starting to hurt him. I know all year long we haven't seen it necessarily be a disadvantage for him, but I think for once he's finally met a matchup where it's actually starting to be a bit of a struggle.
And that foul will go against Clark. That'll be his third of the contest, so definitely something to keep an eye on as now the Crimson Hawks are beginning to rack up the fouls, and Palak at the free throw line for 2. Palak connects on the first of 2 free throws. The second one from Palak is good as well. That gets him up to 10 points on the night, or 11 points on the night, excuse me, as he's really getting going here in the second half with a lay-in and 4 free throws. Patino with it now. Looking down low to Porterfield, nothing there. Gets it over to Rhodes. Rhodes gets it to Stewart, and Stewart forces it to Porterfield up at the top, inside the 3-point arc. And he's going to just take advantage of Palak, and he connects on the lay-in plus the foul. He's going to go to the line to try to make it a 3-point play.
It's going to be Palak's third as well, so it's now going to be 2 players on the court for the Vulcans with 3 fouls, that being Zion Collins and Keith Palak. I believe Bryson Lucas also sitting on 3 as well on the bench, and I mean, it's just exactly what you're going to get against Porterfield in the paint. He's going to use his size and strength against you, and I mean, Palak did a good time defending against it last time these 2 teams met, and even so far at this game, he's done a good job, but just gets mismatched there and beaten on the offensive drive.
I'm surprised Palak passed up on that 3-pointer, but just looking for a better attempt as he finds the cross-court McClurg off the back of the rim and no good. The rebound went to Zion, but kind of went off of his legs and out of bounds, so IUP will take possession.
And a bit of a scary sight as it looks like Jermaine just tried to go up for the rebound and ends up finding more of the ground and more of the back. I believe that might have been Stewart or Clark. Could not get a full view. I mean, that just one's going to go out of bounds, and it's an unfortunate set of sequences for these Vulcans here. And I mean, the 7-point lead is a bit deceiving as this is a relatively pretty close game.
Clark for 3, and he connects. And I'll tell you what, the Vulcans have done this. They did this in their last game, and they've done it all night now, giving him a little bit of space from beyond the arc. And I know when you look at the stats, you know, being a 30% three-point shooter, you don't think you have a lot to worry about, but he shot 133s this year, so he's not afraid to do it, and he can connect when he needs to, and right there he showed us that exactly.
And normally those guys are the worst ones to face off against. They're usually the most confident, because, I mean, if you're confident enough to chuck that ball up 130 times throughout like a 20, 30 game season, I mean, good chance you're going to make up most of them eventually.
Clark in the middle, no good, and the rebound by Palak. Clark now up to 21 points on the night. Second leading scorer is Porterfield with 10. So you can just tell he's really gotten going here early on in the second half. As Whitehead's kind of slowed down since that first half eruption of scoring. And McClurg loses it there, but gets it back, gets it over to Palak, who gets it to Collins. Collins forces up the 2, gets fouled, and he's going to head to the line.
And more importantly now, these Vulcans are starting to force out fouls, and that one's going to be against KJ Rhodes. That's going to be his 4th. That means he's probably going to be put back on the bench here. And, I mean, I don't know if you see it in Coach Lombardi's face. I think he's starting to feel a little bit of the heat now in this game, and these fouls definitely starting to catch up.
It's interesting that the Crimson Hawks really are only 7 guys deep right now, as they've just kind of been rotating those 7 the whole game, and you have to think if KJ were to foul out of this game, or Garvin was to pick up one more foul and put him at 4, you got to wonder where they'd sit when it comes to who's on the court and who isn't. Garvin almost seemed like that last foul was on him as he has hands on his head, but luckily for him it was on a teammate, and he still sits at 3 fouls as Zion able to connect on both free throws there. They continue to roll it up the court here. An interesting strategy, trying to really get as many seconds as they can. As Clark with it, gets the screen from Porterfield. Crossing over back and forth, the step back, Bobby Jack, and he hits it from the top of the key.
And I mean, Clark's just now starting to feel it big time here. 23 points on the night. Ringley as well, 3 fouls as well. He's kept them in this game, and I mean, this is a game, 63-60, 3-point game.
Clark coming back with it now. It's a 1-possession lead for the Vulcans, and all of a sudden they have a chance to tie it up. Clark's going to take the 3 and try his luck. No good. As KJ comes back the other way with Whitehead, a 2-on-2. He puts it up. Oh, what a great finish by Donald Whitehead as he readjusts his body and throws it up almost backwards and finds it off the rim.
And that's so important, too. Whitehead's gone a little bit quiet here in the second half. That's his first points in the second half. It's a 5-point ball game, 8 minutes left. Anything can happen here. I mean, after such a tight contest, I really can't even tell you who has the better chance over the other.
Clark with it. I feel like I've been saying that all half as he's just been so ball dominant in the second half. Porterfield, the fadeaway, no good as he leaves it way short. The rebound by Brooks. It's going to get tipped out by Hall on the pass out, but it was almost a shot clock violation, but the referee is going to say that 1 second should be placed back on the shot clock. And that's going to take us to the media timeout, our second to last media timeout here tonight, as we are under 8 minutes to go here in this contest. California holding a 5-point lead, 65-60, and I mean, it's just been exactly what we expected.
Yeah, I mean, just balls out, lights out. Amazing defense and offense from both these teams. And, I mean, you know, last time these two teams faced off, we think we saw a first half where these teams shot like 7 for 30 or something like that. It was a bit hard to see on a stat sheet and still think of it as a good game. But, I mean, now, I mean, we're looking both these teams shooting around the mid to low 40s mark here. The Hawks shooting 41% from the field, 43 from 3. The Vulcans shooting 46 from the field, 20% from three-point line. It's been a big struggle for them. Really, the only guy who's been able to make it, nail it directly from 3 has been Donald Whitehead, 2 for 6. Again, it's just been a struggle of the three-point line, something that this Vulcan offense has been struggling with throughout the latter half of the season. And it's something that I think is definitely going to play a crucial role in the later half of this game.
To look around the PSAC, Slippery Rock holds a 13-point lead over Edinburgh with 4 minutes to play in their game, 76-63. Mercyhurst with a 4-point lead over Clarion, 47-43. 6 minutes to play there. And Seton Hill with a 13-point lead over Pitt Johnstown. Just over 7 to play in that game there. As we are back into action in this one. And they're going to have to force up a 3 by Brooks, or a deep 2 by Brooks, but it does hit rim, so the shot clock resets on the offensive board. And a foul will be called. This one will go on Whitehead. It's Josh Patino at the free throw line. 82% free throw shooter on the year with a small sample size, only 14 for 17 on the year. First one is good. Talking to, a little shout out here in the meanwhile, but talking to my old coach, Bill Greco, kind of mentioned how this team really is from all around, as Patino from Italy, and you got Romeo Sands from England, and then you got Sarp Furtan from Turkey, and another one from Australia. So they really get their international talent in here at IUP, and you can tell Patino's doing the best he can to contribute.
I mean, I think a large part of that's Coach Lombardi. As I mentioned earlier here, this is an IUP program that's absolutely showed out in these past few years in the Department of Basketball. And I mean, we look at them as a great football program. I mean, they've produced coaches like NFL head coach now Nick Sirianni, but underratedly, this basketball program's been one that's absolutely been heating up. And as Jermaine Hall Jr. is going to hit a very big 3-point here for the Vulcans, that's going to put them up by 6 now.
Big shot there by Jermaine to make it a 2-possession game at the least. As Clark with it now, a little bit of a pivot foot, tries to get it to Brooks, but Brooks loses it. Whitehead comes up with it, gets it up to Zion Collins, who then gets it to McClurg, puts it up with a little bit of contact, but the contact made it came a little bit too late as referees, no whistle there. California retains possession.
Man, I don't know about that one. I think there might have been enough contact through the shot motion for it call to come out, but either way, the Vulcans going to maintain offensive possession here.
Whitehead with the pass to Hall. Hall going to shoot the 2-point jumper, and all of a sudden, Jermaine Hall getting going with a 3 and a 2 in back-to-back possessions.
And I mean, that's a shot that you want Jermaine to make, and it's important too because he's been relatively quiet for the majority of the game, now putting himself up to 11 points on the night. He's played a solid role defensively as well, having to pick up some of the pieces for when Arnett, Palick, and Lucas have been out defending against Porterfield.
Collins in the fast break, no good, but he tips it out to McClurg. He's going to fake the floater, get it out to Palick for 3 off the back of the rim, and no good, but another rebound by McClurg. They're going to set it back up, gets it over to McClurg on the left wing. McClurg with the spin to Zion in the corner for 3. No good off the back rim. The fight for the rebound is going to be off of Zion's leg, and it's going to go the other way in favor of the Crimson Hawks. And they're going to have to look at the camera here to ensure that they did make the right call.
Yeah, I'm 90% sure this one's going to get overturned. I know I've had these contacts in for a while now, but I swear I could have seen that ball bump off the foot, go out of bounds off of Porterfield.
Zion Collins also recording so far his 5th double-double of the season, as he's up to 11 points, 11 rebounds, and one of his double-doubles coming back against IUP in their first matchup as well. He was able to put up 11 points, 10 rebounds in that matchup, and now all of a sudden with 11 points, 11 rebounds here, and he's trying to continue that as we have 6 minutes to play in California with an 8-point lead. This game is reminiscent to their first matchup as California held a little bit of a lead late in the game and just had to maintain it in order to come out on top, and that's what they're trying to do now as Porterfield's pass is deflected and stolen by KJ McClurg. McClurg coming back the other way, gets it out to Zion, and he's going to get called for the charge before Zion can get the shot off. KJ trying to plead his case to the referee, and the referee just gives him a little head nod as, you know, what he saw was a charge, regardless of what KJ has to say.
I mean, Clark is doing it all tonight. He just grabbed the mop and started to mop the floor. As Andrew really going to get nailed with the ball. It's a key defensive possession here for the Vulcans. Hall going to be able to deflect that one out of bounds. And
I saw my light flash before my eyes there for a quick second as I almost dove on my laptop to ensure everything. Coach Sankum and Jermaine both asking for a replay, but the referee's not going to give it to him, I guess, as they're going to say that the Crimson Hawks regained possession, and referee going over to talk to Coach Sankum.
I can tell you, before this game, when I was over on the scores table editing my pictures from the women's game, I heard specifically the lead referee here for tonight said that he's not going to try and do any replays unless absolutely necessary. He doesn't want to try and stop this game, waste any more time here tonight. So I assume you're not going to see many replays unless it's a game-defining decision. It looks like a flop from both of them. I don't know if necessarily that's going to be a call on either side.
This game's starting to get chippy. All of a sudden you got Keith Palak and Porterfield talking back and forth. Palak looking at the ref wondering where the technical might be. Man, 5 minutes left to go. We knew these teams didn't like each other coming into tonight's matchup, but it's really showing out on that court now. Whitehead with it at the top. He's guarded by Clark. He's going to get it over to Jermaine Hall. Top of the key, Jermaine dribbling. Picks up his dribble, hands it off to Whitehead. Whitehead gets the switch he wanted. Goes to drive, gets it to Collins. Collins, the two-point jumper off the front rim, no good. Clark with the rebound. Clark with it now. He's going to take a mid-range jumper, and nothing but nylon for him as he continues his dominant night on the offensive side of the ball. Crowd really getting into this game and letting the refs hear it, as there's been plenty of contact the last couple of possessions. The pass over in the corner to McClurg. McClurg for three, no good. And the rebound by the Crimson Hawks.
And honestly, I don't know how many timeouts these Vulcans have left here, but if they do have one available, I think it may be time just to try and call one and see if you can just calm the troops down here. I think things are just getting a little too energetic for these guys right now, as Whitehead's going to make it over Porterfield. That is a size mismatch if I've ever seen one. The 5'10 sophomore out of Hermitage, Pennsylvania, over the 6'8 senior of Sharon, PA.
What a finish by the sophomore, Donald Whitehead. With the left hand, mind you. Left side of the basket, left hand over a 6'8 Porterfield. That is a tall task that he just took on and converted. Now all of a sudden the Vulcans with a steal, and they got numbers. Jermaine goes to finish, loses it, and now all of a sudden Zion tells his team to calm down and slow it down, as they have an 8-point lead with just over 3.5 to play.
And this is what I'm saying here. If you do have an extra timeout available, I think if your coach thinks you need this, just too much energy here. And I mean, I don't know how you think it is, Andrew, but it just seems like both these teams are just trying to draw out the fouls now.
And right there, Whitehead loses it on the dribble, and now Radford coming back up with it. He's going to get it to Brooks. Brooks on the lay-in, no good, but Garvin Clark with the rebound. He puts it back up. And even though Keith Palak, his hands straight up, doing everything he can to not foul, they're going to call him on the foul, and the crowd's going to let him hear it.
I don't think my problem is necessarily with that call, as much as I may disagree with it personally, but I think it's just the inconsistency here shown in these last few minutes of the second. And I mean, some calls relatively blatant and probably should be seen to the eyes of many here, just going uncalled, and then something as simple as the arms up for Palak is going to get called for the shooting foul. I mean, in the final 3 minutes of a rivalry matchup for important seeding between two playoff contending teams, I mean, it's just something that needs to be far closer.
Yeah, as a basketball fan, it's not really my favorite game to watch type thing because of how much of an impact the referees have had on this game. You like to see it just be a 5-on-5 clean, called fairly both ways, and I mean, for the most part it has been. But like you said, these last couple minutes definitely leaning in favor of the Crimson Hawks. And I mean, you could tell just by the reaction from the crowd here, as we actually have pulled in somewhat of a bigger crowd tonight than we're used to here at the Convocation Center, and I'm sure the guys are feeding off that, as Saturday on Senior Day we had a decent crowd here, and all the guys that I had a chance to talk to afterwards credited the crowd for having such a great energy, especially Jermaine Hall calling the crowd spontaneous in their win.
And you know, I don't think necessarily it's a problem for calls to go uncalled. if that makes sense. But I think there just needs to be a matter of consistency in what it is done. Like, I mean, if you're going through a full half, and I mean, the refs set a precedent of we're not going to call when players do this certain thing. As much as it isn't morally right, I would much rather know that they're not going to call it. So then, you know, these guys can adjust and play their game to the way they know the refs are going to call. But the problem is that you're seeing here now is this, that the refs are kind of letting everything slide and letting some of what have been more routine plays throughout the game finally getting called here in the later half of the second.
Garvin Clark at the free throw line for the Crimson Hawks. 65% free throw shooter on the year. First one off the back rim, no good. And it is 2 shots, not a 1-and-1, as it was a shooting foul. A little bit of miscommunication between both teams. Misunderstanding, I should say. Clark's second free throw off the back rim as well. The fight for the rebound as people are diving on the floor. Chairs are falling into the stands. And all of a sudden, the refs have another decisive call to make.
I believe we may see Bryson Lucas sub back into the game here. Yeah, we will. Bryson Lucas is going to sub back into the game for Keith Palak. Lucas now on 4 fouls for the night, along with Palak as well. I mean, I know heading into this, we were talking about how important these two would be for stopping Ethan Porterfield. And I mean, for the most part, I mean, they have done it. 10 points on the night, 6 rebounds, forcing him into 3 turnovers as well. I mean, that's probably the best you're going to do against a guy of Porterfield's caliber.
Garvin Clark puts up yet again another shot. That's going to be tipped out off of the hands of Zion Collins, and it'll stay on this end. Clark up to 28 shot attempts on the night. Second closest is is actually Stewart with 9. As Clark's kind of just taking this game into his own hands. Porterfield in the middle. He's going to take a mid-range jumper. He's going to connect, as he must have heard us talking about him over here, and he cuts the lead down to 6.
Clark having attempted nearly as many shots as the entire team of the Vulcans having made here. 29 for the Vulcans, 44% from the field here tonight. And I mean, this is smart, simple play by the Vulcans. Try and draw this clock down as much as they absolutely can. I mean, they don't want any seconds being wasted here in these final few of the second.
Down to 5 on the shot clock. Whitehead forces up a 2-point jumper off the rim and no good. The fight between Garvin and Bryson Lucas for the ball. And it gets tipped out by Clark. Lucas going to check out for Palak again. They're kind of just going to keep flip-flopping the two of them with 4 fouls each. As Whitehead passed it in to Palak. 20 on the shot clock after the tip out of bounds by the Crimson Hawks. They're going to be able to get this clock down to just over 2 minutes. Whitehead gets a screen from Palak. He's going to pull up for a deep 2 off the front rim and the back rim as well. No good. Clark with it now for the Crimson Hawks.
And the mismatch underneath with Porterfield, and Zion Collins is going to get an important block against Porterfield here.
As Zion Collins, the big-time block for the senior, as he hasn't been really had it going on the offensive side of the floor tonight, so he's got to make up for it on the defensive, and he does just that with a huge block on an important player like Porterfield.
And I mean, exactly as you said, 2 for 12 on the night. And that's going to be the timeout coming from California. As I said a few minutes ago, I think this one was absolutely needed just to try and calm things down, you know, for Coach Sankum, just to try and ease some of the nerves of these guys. I mean, this is a pretty tight game, and I think there's some tensions running real high here.
Tensions are definitely running high between these two teams. As you know, I'm sure IUP is thinking about that last matchup against Cal that they let slip away, and at their home court too, so they want to get some revenge there. And California, on the other hand, just they know how dominant they can be. They know that in recent years they've struggled against IUP, and they don't want that to continue anymore. So they're just doing everything they can to retain this lead, stay up, and stay positive. 12 seconds on the shot clock here. California's ball coming out of the timeout. 1:42 left to go in the game, and California with a 6-point lead, 72-66.
And I mean, this team just means so much for this school now. One of the very few ranked teams that this school has seen in recent years. I believe going back to the early 2000s was the last time this team was ranked. Now moving up to number 8th in the NABC D2 poll.
And a great offensive rebound there by Palak as it gets tipped out by a couple people fighting for it. And they're going to be able to waste another 20 seconds here off of that crucial clock as we're just over 75 seconds left to go in this game.
And I think if you're IUP, you just have to start getting hyperly aggressive here and force any mistakes out of the Vulcans. Jermaine's just going to try and force a shot up. But importantly, look at this. By the time they're going to cross the half-court line, that's going to get them down to 1 minute, and they're still down 6 points.
Just under a minute to go left here in regulation. Radford gets it to Porterfield, who's guarded by Palak. Porterfield picks up his dribble. He's looking for somebody. Finds Clark. Clark, I'm sure, not afraid to shoot it. He's going to take a three off the back rim, in and out. The rebound by Zion Collins and the save. All of a sudden, 40 seconds left, a 6-point lead. No fouls being held by the Crimson Hawks.
No fouls here. I don't know why they're not fouling. There's 40 seconds. If they want to win this, I mean, this is just, if you want a chance at winning this game, you need to make a foul right now.
Whitehead and Collins just passing it back and forth. And Collins finally going to get fouled. I'm not sure. I mean, I agree with you there. They allowed 21 seconds to come off the clock before they finally committed to the foul there. And, I mean, I guess Zion is one of the guys that you would want to foul. He's not the best from the free throw line, but they definitely weren't waiting for anybody specific to catch it. They just chose to play defense straight up.
I mean, more confusingly so, it seemed like Coach Lombardi was telling them to hold off on the fouls as well. I mean, I'm no lip reader, and I mean, I'm halfway across the court. It's hard to necessarily hear what he's saying too, but just from what it looked like he was saying and what it looked like he was signaling, just seems like he wanted his guys to hold off on the fouling. And I mean, in the end, this may end up costing them the entire game.
The second free throw no good there by Collins, and 7-point lead for Cal. The three there once again by Clark, no good. Clark's 3-point struggles against this team continue, as tonight he's 1 for 11 following his 2 for 12 in their last game, making him 3 for 23 from beyond the arc against this California Vulcans team. I mean, he's done a great job tonight with 25 points, but on 30 shots, you got to wonder how efficient that is.
I mean, regardless, though, I mean, you have to acknowledge how well he's done here tonight. 25 points for the Crimson Hawks. It's going to be his 4th foul, and he's going to talk with Coach Lombardi. Actually, no, he may be the one getting sent to the bench here. Yeah, he is. He's going to be the one getting sent to the bench, and Coach Lombardi just giving him a hug. You can see both smiles on them. I mean, in the end, this was a very tight contest between these two teams, both with heavy playoff aspirations, both with a very rich and deep history. And, I mean, the last time these two teams faced off, it was nearly a decade between the last win that these Vulcans had in 2013-14 season. But, I mean, what a surprise here tonight. Seems like these Vulcans here are going to pick up another W here against the Crimson Hawks of Indiana.
Crimson Hawks with just over 10 seconds to play find themselves down 9. They're going to force up some kind of three just to gain a little bit of respect. Oh my goodness, Radford. And they're going to call it on the floor. Wow.
Excuse me?
Radford with the great 3-point jumper gets fouled in the process, but I guess the foul must have came before the shot went up. I mean, regardless, what a shot by Radford, even though it's not going to count.
Mr. Radford, it's a Wednesday. It's a Wednesday at 9 p.m. What are we doing that for?
He just waited a little bit too long to get going, as he's up to 9 points on the night. And, you know, they could have used his record-breaking performance of earlier this season tonight, as they weren't really the best from three. They definitely were better than Cal was throughout the night, but regardless, not enough, as they find themselves still down 7 with 7 to play. And they're not going to foul, and that'll be it, as California wins and increases their record to 24-3, 18-3 in conference play, and they'll wrap up their season this Saturday against Edinboro. Thank you all for listening, and tune in on Saturday as we have a bit of a game, a bit of a travel up to Edinboro. This has been Andrew White and Nate Kurtz. Thank you all for listening on the PSAC Network and CUTV Sports 1.